Hello, everyone. This is Andrew Rochford, host of the Rochford Files, live at the Free Assange rally here at the Colorado State Capitol. And looks like the event will be starting here shortly. So I'm about to switch my camera on to the event to give you all a view of how it looks around here. So as you can see here, there's other stuff going on, not just related to the event. There's quite a few people that are here for the Great American Beer Fest. Uh, Quite a few people also involved in other causes like Roe versus Wade and campaigning for Michael Bennett. So that's an example of things going on. May even be some like people doing protests for causes of Iran. Oh,
All right. I've got you under my skin. I have got you deep in the heart of me. All right. Thank you. Free Julian Assange. We got to get him free. Okay, Mr. Bros. All right. Thank you.
Oh yeah, that statue I think is well, that's what it was. Like in this case. Hey, Ross. I mean, in prison, maximum security. Hey, how's it going? That doesn't. It's like the news department where get down to it. Oh, we can't do it. You're valuable for you, but you can only say.
Excellent, sweet.
Yeah, I hope it grows. Would you let the concert guy? I would. See if it drive by, but I see. Nothing I can do now.
People were in place.
I've always
Yeah.
What I need is some.
yeah, I'm not. I could replicate it.
Yeah, I've been live for a little over 8 minutes.
Oh, okay. Where is this being broadcast?
Oh, it's on my YouTube channel.
Right?
It's called the Rochford Files.
The what?
The Rochford Files?
Rochford Files. So it must be your last name.
Yes.
Okay.
And it also chose the name because it's close to that old TV show
Oh, yeah, no.
called the Rochford Files.
I gathered that one. That's
Hey, how are you?
all right.
Good.
Yes.
Well, he and nine other despicable Democratic senators sent a letter to Mike Pence that Julian Assange was arrested. Yeah. And rescind his, he's up for re-election.
Bennett signed that letter? I know
That
the letter
was
you're
part of that
talking
letter,
about.
that's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct, because he's guilty. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was already like
Violated his own.
side eye when I saw people walking over here with the signs trying to campaign for him. Yeah. Let's see.
Good to see you, man. I brought snacks. Yeah, it's up at the table. So buttons and all. And I brought some more buttons too. Yeah, you can put some up there. Kendra figured out how to make it. I said she should have come to you. But yeah, no worries. Yeah, that's all I brought were the resist and some persist. I know, that's okay. Well, but this was the persist one. It's kind of like back in the big one. 16, I think. 27. Hi.
Hi. Wait. Oh, that's good. Okay, but I can't see him. All right. No, let me see your back. All right, don't turn on the. Okay, hang on. Hang on a minute. All right. Almost 96 seconds.
The people running it. For federal seats.
Hey, how's it going? Good.
Oh, nothing.
But yeah, the house district, if you have like a two-thirds range, those can't.
I don't know. I don't know what the fuck means, but straight 30 down. Yeah. I was told. I was told. Well, she was going to be originally nominated. Now. But so I called for and what I was told. Which is funny that they think that like that's my base that I'm trying to get more like giving me ammunition. Here's what myself, and I definitely didn't have to I didn't have to.
Oh yeah. But yeah, no, 3 grand. That's a lesson.
Oh, I do because that was an in-kind donation from my dad. That was yeah. Yes, I was great because if someone has to physically take it off, it adds that little bit. Because I've been to houses where the fire have to belong in that apartment. That's fine. Right? It could have been for me. But fine. Besides the fine.
Well, that's where I think I've actually got it. Here's the thing. Wow, that's good.
I'm gonna keep it wait. Sets you up.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, that's gonna. I already know that.
Yep. You make nine. Depending on the fact, that's the thing. And I wish they would something that could want to face and push the party in that and I good luck. Sorry.
Good.
A lot of you, like, you're not forget everything on across the world. And like, no, it would work. You know, and I get like these guys. Well, yeah, we don't do what we like. And even right, and that they have that. They have like here, going to the party, and now we see
We are.
All right, hello everybody.
Hello. Woo!
Thanks everybody for coming out today to Free Julian Assange.
Woo!
So my name is Christian, and we started the Denver Action Assange group back in April when he was taken out of the embassy. So that's been about 3.5 years now. Julian Assange has been in Belmarsh prison on remand. So that's basically like our Guantanamo, you know, no, just waiting for extradition here to the U.S. So where we're at right now in the case is really critical. He is on his very last appeal in the UK. If the UK courts decide not to hear his appeal, then that is the end of what he is able to accomplish in the UK, and his only other hope before extradition would be the European Court of Human Rights. So we're really at a critical juncture, and I appreciate everybody who came out today. And we really, one of the things that I will task you with from our group is to please talk to everybody you know about this case. As you can see, we still have a lot of work to do. There are so many big issues going on, but as you know, Julian Assange is, he's kind of being put out there as with a head on the stake of this is what happens to you if you publish the truth about people in power. And everybody here knows that without that, without great publishers willing to publish what whistleblowers are brave enough to bring the information to, without that, we don't have freedom. We don't have a free press. We don't have freedom. We lose our means to hold the people in power to account. So in that sense, it came along early in the campaign that we say we are all Assange. And I think that really, that rings true now more than it did even when he was first taken out of the embassy. We've seen censorship rise. Um, we've seen journalists go in prison. We've seen people get notices for what they post on Twitter. We've seen people lose their YouTube channels just for the mainstream media to report the same thing, a couple months later, sometimes even weeks later. So thank you again, everybody, for coming out today. We have some great speakers that are here today. We have 2 featured speakers, and then we're going to open the mic up. So we'll go ahead and get started. We have Kyle Angelo here from antiwar.com. And Kyle, let me check my notes here. Sorry. So Kyle is the opinion editor of antiwar.com news. He's also the editor of the Libertarian Institute, and he's the co-host of a great show, Conflicts of Interest. So everybody, please join me in welcoming Kyle Angelo.
All right, can everybody hear me okay? All right. Today, we sit on the brink of nuclear war. Even our president admits the human race is closer to annihilation than at any point since the Cuban Missile Crisis. Those of us fighting to rein in the runaway militarism that puts us on the brink of elimination are missing our greatest ally, our bravest truth teller, and the most heroic journalist that we have in this fight, Julian Assange and his organization. It's no coincidence that Julian Assange is sitting in a maximum security prison in the United Kingdom as this is going on, as the military-industrial complex has essentially seized the reins of power in the imperial city to just take as much of our money as possible and launder it for all their wars, for all their just destructive and awful projects. Assange and his organization, WikiLeaks, have published millions of documents exposing governments around the world, including the U.S. and Russia, Democrat and Republican administrations. Assange, working with the heroic leaguer Chelsea Manning, dropped the Iraq, Afghan war logs and the State Department cables. This included the collateral murder video that infamously showed how the U.S. war just killed innocent people all over Iraq all the time, and also the Guantanamo Files. The leaks embarrassed the Bush administration and threw a lot of cold water on the post 9/11 Cold War fever in the U.S. In 2016, Assange and WikiLeaks published emails exposing corruption in the DNC, the Obama administration, and just how terrible of a leader Hillary Clinton truly was. So Assange had now embarrassed the right and left in the imperial city. This meant that he had no allies anymore, and they could do what they wanted to. This led to what the UN Special Rapporteur for Torture, Nils Melzer, called a 20-year campaign by democratic countries that he has never seen before to deliberately isolate, demonize, and abuse a single individual. Melzer labeled and said that Julian Assange had been tortured. Assange's case is really important right now at this very moment, because what we need to be doing at all times is getting as much information out there as possible of what's happening in DC, what kind of decisions are going on, and exactly how many and what weapons are going to Ukraine. Without WikiLeaks being around right now, this is seems to be almost impossible. As the independent media, we have a huge handicap not having WikiLeaks to help us advocate. You know, Assange is on trial for violating the Espionage Act, but WikiLeaks is just an organization that publishes documents, and they have a track record of only publishing factual and authentic documents, never publishing, never having to do retractions. Which of our mainstream media organizations can even claim that today? And so,
damn right.
So I just want to thank everybody for coming out today. There's a lot of rallies going on around the world right now. It's not even just the U.S. There's a big rally going on in DC. We have people out here. There's people in Seattle. There's a big event in the UK where they're surrounding the UK Parliament and really demanding Assange's freedom. That's where Assange's wife is and his family. And one of the things that, when you look at this case, that we have to realize is Assange, he's a hero to all of us, but he's also a man with a family. And justice says that he goes free because he hasn't violated any laws. So when I come out today, what I'm seeing around the world is there's a group of independent thinkers out there. They fall into libertarian or socialist camps. Maybe they just like to claim that they're independents, or some other more a little bit obscure for their fit political party. But nonetheless, people who don't take their marching orders from the mainstream media, and people who are willing to look at things, with a critical eye. And we really do need Julian Assange and WikiLeaks to be at their full capability, to be publishing documents so we could expose the truth as WikiLeaks has done so many times in the past. Thank you all.
All right, awesome. Thanks again, Kyle. That was awesome. All right, so our next speaker is David Barsamian. Really, really honored to have him here. He spoke at one of our events a while back when we were first starting. It's a privilege to have him here today. So he has hosted for 37 years a show called alternativeradio.org, and he has also written books with Tom Stevenson, just a pillar in this fight for truth and for free press. So without further ado, David Barsamian.
Brothers and sisters, comrades, good afternoon. I thought you'd get an early start here. We're waiting for the big TV network to show up. Channel 2, 4, 7, 9, 13. I guess there's no parking in this area. They should be here soon because this is a very important event. Now, why should you care about a 51-year-old Australian citizen by the name of Julian Assange? Why is our attention important to laser light focus on his particular case? Because as his case goes, journalism and a free press will also diminish. We need to protect Assange and what he represents, which is what journalism is supposed to be about. When you go to journalism school, at the great University of Colorado in Boulder, which incidentally eliminated its journalism school. It was folded into another faculty. But you learn there that the purpose of journalism is to speak truth to power. It's to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. It is, as the New York Times masthead says, all the news that's fit to print. But when you look carefully at their output, you'll see that a lot of what they print is actually omitted or is straight out propaganda. And that's why WikiLeaks and Assange is such a threat to corporate media and to the imperial state. We live in an imperialist country. We plunder and loot resources from around the world. We have over 800 military bases around the globe. The U.S. empire is a reality that these corporate media types will never even mention that it exists. It's okay to talk about Britain or the Soviet Union or France and their empires, but you can't talk about U.S. imperialism. And that's a huge, huge gap. Now, this past week, lots of Nobel Prizes were given out. I think one should be given to Assange for the courageous work that he has done and that WikiLeaks has done since its founding in 2006. And what is his alleged crime? What is he being accused of? leaking classified documents. Well, we have something here in the United States, you may recall. It's called the Constitution. It's an obscure document that is paid lip service to, but is rarely adhered to. And within this obscure document, there happens to be certain amendments. And so the First Amendment to the Constitution says, Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. So I think that's pretty clear, unambiguous English, straight ahead. No law to prevent free speech or freedom of the press. And the persecution and prosecution of Julian Assange on a personal level, I mean, it's really scandalous what they've been doing to him. He's been held out as a kind of a linchpin that the state wants to focus its criminality upon. But here we have a genuine hero, someone who has literally saved lives by leaking documents. Now, why wouldn't they want those documents leaked? Because they expose the naked aggression of U.S. imperialism. You have a textbook case, no one can contest it. Not even the great journalists at the Denver Post or Channel 2 or Fox. And that is the waging of aggressive war against Iraq, against Syria, against Libya, against, should I keep going? I mean, the list is as long, as my arm here, with the number of countries the U.S. has invaded. And WikiLeaks and Assange has exposed all those war crimes, and for that he is guilty. For that he is being prosecuted and persecuted. And we need to defend him as a journalist. I need to protect our freedoms to write, to speak, to have events like this. And thanks to Kendra for organizing this. It happens one at a time when you say you care. That's what organizations and community is so important to overcome isolation, to overcome a feeling of loneliness. It's when we have gatherings like this. And, we may not be many, but I think we are significant because, your presence here is an affirmation that the work of WikiLeaks and Julian Assange is valuable, is essential for the workings of democracy. Yeah. And the Obama administration, you remember Barack Obama, change you can believe in, they issued a fatwa. You all know what a fatwa is? It's an Islamic decree about Assange. What did they say? The disclosure of U.S. government documents by WikiLeaks has caused damage to our national security. That's a direct quote. Now, you have to understand, we have to speak in English, right? So national security is a term of propaganda. It's national insecurity. It's making, countries around the world quiver when they hear the sound of drones and U.S. airstrikes, when they become collateral damage. They are the victims of U.S. imperialism. National security. We would have national security if we had free health care for all, if we had public transportation, if we had free education. That's real national security, not F-35s and Reagan carrier groups and Trident submarines and nuclear weapons, which is just insane, as was mentioned. It's being talked about. Again, we're not talking about a war here. We're talking about termination of human life. And we still have those weapons, and they are part of our arsenal, our so-called deterrence arsenal. So we're in a very dangerous moment. I mean, there are lots of things to think about. There's the pandemic, which hasn't gone away. There's the war in Ukraine, which is escalating into a very, very dark and dangerous place. And what must we do? We have to keep going. We have to organize, we have to fight back, we have to say no to imperialism, no to US aggression, and strip off the layers of propaganda that envelop us, particularly through the corporate control media. You know, I had a T-shirt, I didn't bring it today, it says, "Don't trust the corporate media." And it's actually not accurate, because you can trust them to lie, to distort, to fabricate, and to invent, and to be an apologist for US imperialism and predatory capitalism, which is not a topic that can barely be even mentioned within these polite circles. So there's a lot to do, and you have to pick something that you feel comfortable with and that you want to work on. But finding community and finding a good cause to work on is very important. And Julian Assange, I think, is an icon for this era. He is definitely a hero that we should be saluting and celebrating. And as I said, if that Nobel Committee had any brains, they would have given him a Nobel Peace Prize. Yeah. And if there's any doubt in anyone's mind about the barbaric nature of US imperialism, you only have to go to that WikiLeaks leak of the helicopter pilots laughing and torturing as they're blowing away Reuters journalists and others in Baghdad. You all remember that? Unequivocal, clear example of aggressive, super machismo behavior. And that goes on over and over again. How many wedding parties in Afghanistan have been hit? How many mosques in Syria have been hit by US drone strikes? This is the reality that is largely covered over. And so what do? We are distracted by distractions by distraction. That's from a T.S. Eliot poem. We worry about the Broncos. What happened in the fourth quarter? Why didn't they win? Why didn't they draft this particular person? What about, the latest scandals of the Kardashians and people like that? And, is Tom Brady and Giselle, are they headed for a divorce? This is actually the substance of a lot of media coverage. I mean, totally away from reality and into this kind of fantasy world of celebrity-itis, focusing on the rich, the famous, the Hollywood stars, the divorces, the sex scandals, and all the rest. So that particular helicopter pilot and his co-pilot, they're the ones that should be facing war crimes tribunals, not someone else. And as Bob Dylan used to say, they're only pawns in the game. That's what they are. They are the tools, they're the instruments of imperialism and of predatory capitalism. So we want everyone who applauds will get a $5 check. And, where are the liberals on free speech? Well, it's free speech, it's championed in Syria, in Russia, in Iran, but not necessarily here. They've run away from this issue. With very few exceptions, to their credit, Noam Chomsky, John Pilger, Chris Hedges, the great Indian writer, Arundhati Roy in London just last week spoke out on behalf of Assange. So there's been a handful of people that have broken away from the pack. And that tells you a lot about the intellectual climate in the country today. Tariq Ali is also someone who has defended Assange. Now, I think we should close. That's an applause. With this whole issue of hope, when you look around, people feel depressed, feel despair, and those outcomes, by the way, are constructed. They're not by accident. It's the way the system is organized to marginalize any kind of community. You're on your own. There is no society, as Margaret Thatcher posted, and as Ronald Reagan echoed as well. You know, there is no group. You're all individuals and you're on your own. So overcoming that is, I think, takes some skill and some ability and agility, but these types of events help overcome that feeling of despair. So it happens to be the centenary of our great radical historian, Howard Zinn. A People's History of the United States, must reading for young people. Absolute, great book that strips away all the fantasies and lies that we all grew up with in elementary school, and middle school, and high school, and on and on. And it's a great book. But this is what Zinn says about this whole issue of hope. To be hopeful in bad times is not just foolishly romantic. It is based on the fact that human history is a history not only of cruelty, but also of compassion, sacrifice, courage, kindness. What we choose to emphasize in this complex history will determine our lives. If we see only the worst, it destroys our capacity to do it. If we remember those times and places, there have been so many where people have behaved magnificently. This gives us the energy to act, and at least the possibility of sending this spinning top of the world in a different direction. And if we do act in however small way, we don't have to wait for some grand utopian future. The future is an infinite succession of presents. And to live now as we think human beings should live, in defiance of all that is bad around us, is itself a marvelous thing. Thank you very much. Free Julian Assange. Free Julian Assange. Free Julian Assange. Free Julian Assange.
All right. Let's do one more round of applause for David Barsamian. Okay, to his point, anybody who's here today, please make sure that if you haven't already, that you sign the petition that we have on the table behind me. And please make sure to check the box and not put on our list to next event having Assange. Just a little note about our group. We've been running a nonpartisan volunteer. So we are a living example of people coming together, all different political ideologies, together. So free press and Assange. Just to get that power position.
Hey, Beverly Hills Hotel.
What are they all crazy? Outlining all the different aspects of this case because there's so many of them, and it affects us in so many different ways. So with that, we're going to open the night up, and we have another speaker here today. And I also, if anybody here wants to come up and say a word, we would really encourage you to do so. And then after that, as you can see, we need everybody who's here. So don't go. As soon as we're done with the speakers, we have giant yellow ribbons, okay? So 2 people can take them and stretch them out, and we are going to surround this Capitol in solidarity with people all around the world who are doing the same thing. They did make it in the UK. That's the first time that Parliament was surrounded. So hands off to them. And then also kicking it off in Melbourne this morning. I think it was already going by the time thousands of people there. And then smaller events like ours all around the world. Over 21 countries are having events today. So that's pretty amazing. So I will at this time introduce, this is a Libertarian candidate for District 49, and it's Daniel Lutz.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Daniel Lutz, a Libertarian candidate for House District 49.
And I prepared statements because I have a tendency to ramble, and I don't want to subject everyone to my innate rambles. I can concentrate thoughts down this morning. And like most people of my generation, I'm in my late 30s. My life was directed by 9/11. It was the pivotal moment that set my life on the course that it is currently. When that happened, I was a very conservative Republican. I backed George W. Bush. I supported the Patriot Act. And I thought people like Julian Assange were the enemies of America. Until I became the object of American foreign policy. I became the edge of the sword of American foreign policy and saw what I was doing. And then this man and several others worked together to expose the rest of America. I realized the course of my life had been built on a lie. Freedom is a concept America says it wants to spread throughout the world. The government of America claims to be the defenders of freedom. Freedom's ultimate champion. How does a country truly defend freedom? Soldiers, brains, ships, missiles? No. Rights. With doing what is right by the people and standing on its principles, even when it has to admit it has made a serious mistake. There is no right held more sacred by the American people than that of freedom of speech. Right to praise, criticize, agree, or dissent as our own conscience guides us to. Most importantly, a right to expose the evil acts perpetrated by a government against innocent people. Sorry, I lost my place. So how did the government fare in this ultimate test of defending freedom? I'm sorry to say that it failed miserably. When presented with an opportunity to do the right thing, the hard thing, stand on its principles, and not criminalize a person who exercised his right to speech, America faltered, and in doing so, damaged the momentum of freedom throughout the world. There are many who would try to paint Mr. Assange as an enemy, but to them I ask this. Even if he hated this country, does that make what he exposed any less true? Does it mean that we do not have to hold to our principles? For those who would claim his Australian nationality would not extend to him the same protections afforded American citizens, I ask, why not? Is he not a human being? And to paraphrase the Declaration of Independence, all people are created equal, being endowed with certain inalienable rights, including life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Would the liberty to use your voice for what you feel is right not be one of these rights? And Mr. Assange, being a human, not entitled to his voice, without at least our own government attempting to vilify him because of it? If we truly believe that speech without reprisal from governments who are exposed by it is the right and proper way to let America, like a bright beacon of freedom, drop these charges against Mr. Assange. By attempting to criminalize a person who helped expose its crimes, America has assaulted the very Constitution on which it was built and wounded deeply the trust placed in it by the American people. Because if the government is willing to lie and hide acts such as these, then what else are they willing to hide and lie about? Standing on principle is not always easy. A government that can't stand on its principles in the face of what Mr. Assange exposed is a country. A government that can stand on its principles in the face of what Mr. Assange exposed is a country that can work towards regaining public trust. I implore the government to reconsider its position, take that painful step toward freedom, and the American people will take it with you. President Biden, while you have the pardon pen out, let's fill out one for Edward Snowden and send it his way. Bring that patriot home.
All right, thank you, Daniel. That was great. Thank you. So, it's been very silent between the Democrats and Republicans, hasn't it? On our free press, it's pretty incredible. Maybe one or two statements here or there, but just a handful. And there we are with Assange, the first journalist charged under the Espionage Act. So I really appreciate that, Daniel. Thank you. Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to come up and have a say at the mic? Don't be shy. All right, great. Okay, come on up.
Yeah, it's on YouTube and Twitch.
Hi, everybody. I am Ross Cluff. I am running for Congressional District 7. And this free Assange rally perked my interest for several reasons. But there's two main things that I am looking at doing in my campaign. And it's part of the reason I want Assange freed so much. And those two things are, number one, protecting the Constitution of the United States. And that is the First Amendment, which is freedom of press. And that basically that means anybody can publish what they want without fear of being put in prison. So that's number one. Number two is even more important. That is, for something to be a crime, there has to be a victim. I don't see a victim in any of this Julian Assange WikiLeaks stuff at all, except the American people know what's going on, which is a good thing. There's absolutely no victim at all. And if there is no victim, there should be no crime. It's that simple. And that's for those two reasons, this is an extremely important thing for me. And if I am in, I will put every effort that I have into freeing Assange and making sure Edward Snowden gets a fair trial, because so far he has not. Nobody's given him the right to a fair trial, so that is a big problem. And I don't think he did anything wrong either, but he deserves a fair trial. So if anybody has any questions on any of my positions, I'm running for CD7. I will be here quite a bit longer, and I'll have some information. And feel free to ask me any questions or find out what I'm working on. Thanks for your attention.
All right. Do you have anybody tall that wants to come up on their turn to come up?
Very, very. Snowden, Assange, and look at how they're accused of aiding the enemy. I've heard that phrase before, haven't you? They never say who the enemy is, though. And that's because it's you, and me, and you, and you, and you. We're the enemy that they're aiding. And that's why Snowden is in exile. That's why Mr. Assange is in prison. Thank you.
100%. Anybody else? All right, awesome.
I just wanted to thank everyone who came out here today. I appreciate spending time on your lives to come out and take a stand on this. For some reason in our nation, if it's the Second Amendment, people lose their minds. They think that they're going to take our guns away. There's too many out there. The Second Amendment is not. What is threatened is the First Amendment. And that the U.S. government is actively signaling to the world that we don't care. That's why we did nothing with Khashoggi and Shireen Abdul, I forget her her second name. They signaled to the Israelis that it was okay to kill her. And now we're just slowly killing Julian Assange. And we're guilty of what we point our finger at of others, and it's despicable. And so is the act of 10 Democratic senators who wrote letters and worked with the Trump administration to have Julian Assange in prison. So I don't want you to forget them as well, because one of them, Bennett, is up for re-election. And he's despicable. He violated the oath of his office, by not protecting the Constitution. And I just wanted us all to remember that. Thank you for your time. My son and I are going to play hockey. I wish I could stay, but I just want to play some hockey, not to be distracted from school profession. But I just for exercise, it's a well-being. So we're going to play some stick. Anybody else?
I just think the language that's used by the media and our government is so crazy that they call innocent people who are killed collateral damage or insurgents. The way they target drones and say it's okay to kill people without any trial, without any evidence. When it's all done really remotely, like some people in a bunker are having drone attacks and they think, well, maybe we have to meet a quota for how many weapons we use up, how many new drones we have to buy. So let's go treat these people because they're young males or they're gathering together or going to pick up truck. Somehow or other, we have to get back to the idea, maybe the way people were saying, that we're people, one-to-one or in small groups or big groups. That we are people and we form communities and we don't want ourselves and our communities to be destroyed. So we shouldn't do that to anyone else. Thanks.
Thank you so much to everybody who is coming up and speaking. It's really, really great things. Anybody else? Okay, no takers. Okay. Thanks again, everyone, for coming out today. So again, so many great points hit on. Just one thing to remember as you stand here today, know that you stand with all major human rights and free press organizations that have all spoken out against this case, with people in solidarity all around the world. And know that you have the truth on your side. Absolutely, nobody was harmed as a result of these leaks. That's a complete lie. WikiLeaks did redact. They redacted more than any of the mainstream news organizations. So really, anytime you scratch at the surface of the case, you find the exact opposite of true. And we have a real hero to mankind right now, suffering. So any little thing that you do goes a long way. So with that, if you guys could come in and join me, we have these giant yellow ribbons, and we are going to work to strategically surround the Capitol. So come on up, and I'll explain it when you get.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how to spell your last name.
Okay, it might be good to okay, so we have 10 giant ribbons, so you need at least 2 people per ribbon. And what we want to do is surround the Capitol, okay? So strategically surround it, so we need kind of a star shape, like a compass type shape, north, south, east, west, northeast, blah, blah, blah. So we'll grab a ribbon. Yes, just for a little bit. We want to get everybody together. We also have some signs. They're right behind there. So please grab a Free Assange sign if you're not holding a ribbon. And we're going to surround the Capitol. I'm going to come around. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm going to come around and we'll have somebody come around with the camera. And then we'll meet back here. So thanks, everybody.
Hey, WCSN and Kelly, thanks so much for viewing this stream so far. And if anyone else is out there viewing, please say so in the chat. And once everyone gets this yellow ribbon fully stretched out, I will take the full walk around the Capitol with that. Taking a look for a moment at what's going on down here, or I turn back over.
Lucky is out. He's in prison. So the plan is to extradite him to the United States.
No.
Oh. Hey, Kyle, did you have time to answer a couple of questions?
Sure thing.
So, Andrew Rochford, host of the Rochford Files.
Okay.
Nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
How did you end up here in Denver today?
I mean, I live not too far away, and Kendra, who organized, asked me to come out and speak. I'm a big supporter of Assange, anti-war movement, stuff like that. So, of course.
Yes, I remember thanks to Comrade Misty when she had that show for a while on TNT radio. That's when I first came familiar with your work.
Yep.
So how did you get into anti-war journalism?
So I've long been interested in politics, like going back when I was in high school. And then as I got like older in my 20s, seeing the war in Syria and Libya and how they played out, remembering the promises of Iraq and everything like that, it just became really obvious to me who was lying, who was telling the truth. Started by becoming an activist, and then I started a show, and then I started writing. That, yeah, that's kind of how it happened.
So other than Assange, what do you think is the most pressing issue that you've been focusing on?
I guess it's got to be the war in Ukraine, just because of the potential nuclear threat. There's a lot of activism right now on the Yemen issue. There's a lot of people there who are dying, and it really needs some attention. And there's a war powers resolution in Congress, but the nuclear weapons issue is just so important. I think a lot of my attention and focus has been there.
Yes, I would agree. It's been quite frustrating how people could still uh, interpret like Putin as a greater threat when Zelensky is literally asking for potential nuclear action to be taken against Russia.
Yeah, no, it's really wild what the like perception is in America, and for people who have watched this play out, particularly since 2014, nothing that's really happening here is a great surprise, right? Like we've been predicting and saying that if you pushed Kiev into NATO, it's going to provoke a Russian reaction. They're going to invade Ukraine. And just 2 weeks ago, Zelensky said that, yeah, we're a de facto NATO member. That's what Russia recognized. That's why they invaded Ukraine. So it's not that Putin is some irrational actor or anything like that. He has, national interests. I don't support any war. I think it's foolish for Russia to go war. I think ultimately it'll probably cost Russia far more than they ever gained from this conflict. But nonetheless, there's nationalist interest in Russia, and we violated way too many of them, crossed way too many of Moscow's red lines, and this is the result. And now we put ourselves at the whims of Zelensky, who seems to be a real madman and has suggested doing a lot of very, very dangerous things.
So, do you got any current and upcoming work that you'd like to promote?
I'm always doing the podcast Conflicts of Interest. I write news articles all the time, usually Monday through Friday, either for the Libertarian Institute or antiwar.com, but almost everything I write ends up on the antiwar.com news page. So those are the projects.
Thanks so much, Kyle, for taking the time to talk today.
Hey, hit me and I will, promote it and stuff. And I really appreciate it.
Yes, I'll be sure to clip your speech and this little interview later on. Thanks so much. Gonna work on getting a couple more interviews short. Yes. Yeah, I'll speak with you shortly.
Kendra Elizabeth, get up. Kendra, get up there.
The answer to that question, WCSN, is nope, not even close. Oh, hello, David. Do you have time to answer a couple questions? Oh, the live stream. So, right here, I got David Barsamian, one of the featured speakers earlier at this Free Assange rally. So, how did you find yourself involved in this?
Well, I'm a journalist, and I'm concerned when states act to limit journalism, to imprison one of the genuine heroes of this period, Julian Assange. Spent 7 years in the Ecuadorian embassy, sought asylum there, 3 years in Belmarsh prison. Essentially 10 years of his life has been behind bars or in the embassy. And it's a huge crime because what is he being accused of? Telling the truth, exposing the lies of U.S. imperialism and of corporate capitalism. So he's an extraordinary figure, and I think should be honored talking about Nobel Prizes, he should be given a Nobel Prize, telling the truth. There's no such category, of course, in the Nobel lexicon. But he is an extraordinary figure, and his exposure of various documents and videos have been very important to peeling back the lies and the half-truths that corporate media spin, echoing what the press releases that they get from the government.
Yeah, so what I find crazy is, as someone who went to college for journalism not all that long ago, is I never even heard any of my journalism professors talk about Julian Assange. And there's probably uh, journalism students all over the country who are very unaware of this, or they're only hearing what the corporate narrative is on this.
Yeah, exactly. You know, here in Denver, you have a perfect example of that. We had a rally here, and none of the local TV stations or print media showed up. They had the information, but they chose not to. Why? Because this isn't the kind of issue that attracts their attention, or nor does it attract the attention of their corporate advertisers. So you have a structure here, media structure, which deals in propaganda, which deals in distortions and fabrications that are repeated over and over again. It's right out of the Nazi playbook of Joseph Goebbels. You have a lie, you repeat it over and over again, and people start believing it and repeating it.
So, are there any like connected causes that are of utmost concern to you right now?
Obviously, we have a pandemic. There's a climate crisis which threatens the planet. There's another thing that threatens the planet, and that is nuclear annihilation. I won't use the word war. It's not a war. It would be permanent, the end of civilization and the earth as we know it. So those issues, of course, have a lot to do with telling the truth and explaining to people what is involved here.
So, and also, is there any other causes that you're doing work with at this time?
Climate crisis, the war in Ukraine. I do a weekly national broadcast. It's called Alternative Radio. You can find out about what I do at alternativeradio.org. We're in Boulder, Colorado, not too far away. So if you're in Denver, if you're within the sound of my voice, come and visit us in Boulder. Take you around alternative radio. So I do this weekly program. It's 1 hour in length. I just interviewed Chomsky. I did a tribute to Barbara Ehrenreich. Ralph made the consumer issues, economic issues, propaganda, war, peace. I mean, all of these topics are of concern to me, and I do programs on them.
Oh, thanks for so much for taking the time to speak, and I'd be reaching out to you soon about potentially being on the show sometime in the future.
Sure.
Oh, it was nice meeting you today.
Take care.
Thanks so much. Oh, I'm Andrew Rochford, host of the Rochford Files. Thanks so much.
I can't type. Remember 3 years ago with all the ashes in there, the whole country? Yeah, remember? It's really depressing. So bad. I've got an answer time. He's that out all the time. I don't know if you find out. Oh, good. 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 My son lives out.
And I've got, every time I go to my little storeroom, I've got a little tiny house, and every time I go to my storeroom, I say, what is this? And there's another filter running. I haven't had to use it. Yeah. But I don't want to have to use the filter and have to use AC and keep the windows closed and stay indoors and not go outside. Summertime, enjoy the beauty of the earth.
It's gorgeous place. No,
I'm going to be a climate refugee.
yes.
Yes,
Michigan is the place to go.
well, it's true, actually.
I don't doubt it at all. Like
It's the Great Lakes. The head of Empire, you know Empire?
I don't.
National Center of Atmosphere.
Oh, okay.
That's how it's located.
Yes.
And the man who was
Oh, you're
head of
good.
it- Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I was going to talk to them in a bit.
Bye-bye. Oh, how nice. I can listen to them on the way home. Thank you. Oh, yeah, how nice. Thank you. Yeah. I'm going to be glad. Yeah, we have oh, wonderful. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you very, very much. Oh, nice. I'm glad to be able to. Oh, you're going to come back with over there with that.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Bye.
Oh, hello, guys. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell the viewers more about the socialist revolution and why you decided to show up here today?
We are Socialist Revolution, the American branch of the International Marxist Tendency. We showed up to stand in solidarity because of the political prisoners who are being tortured around the world, really, all of them, but Julian Assange being the most prominent. We are seeing him rot away in an imperialist prison before our very eyes. And, you know, we definitely stand against that and all oppression, but imperialism is ruining the world as its mask is falling off. And we watched it happen with Chelsea Manning and Assange right now. Unacceptable behavior from the tools of the rich, tools of the ruling class to save their own asses is really what they're doing.
So when you see people here for like other things like campaigning for Michael Bennett, Roe versus Wade, and what message would you have for people like that who are probably seeing their efforts being dried up into a movement that's not going to do anything good for that?
There's no way forward in the capitalist party or the Democratic Party. They work for the same masters as the Republicans. They're all funded by dark money, corporations. Michael Bennett is definitely one of the worst. Seeing him make all kinds of promises here in Colorado, and then he goes to Washington, and he just does the exact opposite because he just follows the money. Takes a lot of oil and gas money. I know actually about it was 2 years ago, there's Roe Act came up for a vote in the Senate, and he voted against it. It's an act that would helped give more protections to women, and Michael Bennett was on the wrong side of that as well. So I guess our message to Democratic voters is to really look into what the party's actually doing and who they actually serve, where they fall on the issues. What happened to our promise of a $15 minimum wage that the Democrats campaigned on in 2020? It's gone because the Senate parliamentarian said no. It was someone who has zero power that they just pulled. All these issues like Medicare for all, housing, just look what the party's done on it, the history of the Democratic Party and the history of serving the rich.
So could you guys tell me about how the socialist revolution got started and how the both of you got involved in it?
It started as a Trotskyist group in England. It was originally a split with the SWP, Socialist Workers' Party, and then we're actually in 40 countries now. We are a revolutionary Marxist organization based on working class identity. We believe that as a class, we all need to unite and work to expropriate and overthrow capitalism and the rich 1%. And back in, it was about 2016 to 2019, I personally went through a radicalization that led me to Marxist beliefs. And it's the only thing that makes sense that's left. We've seen capitalism falling apart for the last 250 years, but its crises are becoming more drastic, and there's less time between them. It used to be every 10 years. We've looked at 2 major recessions in the last 12 or so.
I came around to join the Socialist Revolution after trying to work within the system, within the Democratic Party. I was a national Bernie delegate in 2020. And I just saw the way the system treated all of the Bernie supporters, people who just wanted mild reforms to the system. We just wanted to get health care. We just wanted to actually address the climate crisis. And the Democrats, they weren't interested in even Bernie's program. So I ended up joining Socialist Revolution right after the Democratic Convention in 2020. So I believe we have to end the capitalist system in order to enact real change.
So for people who are like leery of joining like other pseudo left or other left wing organizing parties, why should they choose Socialist Revolution?
Sure. We believe that we have a direct program that's based on the theories of Marx, Engels, Trotsky, Luxemburg. We're trying to fight for a class independent strategy, so a strategy that's outside of both parties. Some other leftist organizations often find themselves falling back inside of the Democratic Party and trying to push the Democratic Party left. It's our belief that that has never worked and never will work. And I think an example of what's happening with Joe Biden today, how we only get the most mildest lip service to his campaign promises, which were well to the right of Bernie. We just really need a working class party. And that's what we organize around here at Socialist Revolution, is the need for a mass working class party that actually represents our interests, not those capitalist.
So lastly, do you have any upcoming like actions or work to promote?
Nothing huge right now. We're working on just staying current and trying to gather folks for the movement, because I mean Denver's a pretty
pretty liberal place. It's hard to organize here. So that's kind of the stage we're at this point. It's, building the movement, gathering the ones and twos, and what we call sinking roots, and moving with the working class, the actual workers of America and the world. Because this is going to go nowhere unless it's worldwide. And we've seen that.
Yeah, we have our weekly branch meetings. We run some reading groups. We try to show up to events like these, or like the Women's March this morning, and show our paper, and spread our ideas, and just try to reach as many people as we possibly can. So hope people would go to our website, socialistrevolution.org. If you're interested in more information there, you can sign up for contact information there, and someone from our group will contact.
Oh, yes. Thanks so much, guys, for taking the time. Thank you. Bye. We'll be getting at least one more interview shortly with Kendra, one of the lead organizers of this of the Denver Free Assange. So, as I mentioned here, there were other big events like the organizing around Shitty Senator Michael Bennett, the Women's March, which had a lot of other people here. And I'm about to sign this. Yes, WCSN. Yeah, these are things that I'm trying to do more of when I see them come up, is show up and provide a live stream at like actions like these and maybe other moments in the future, especially relevant ones like Free Assange today. As I'm waiting to sign this, the clipboard, as I'm about to do right now.
Do you have an instrumental or no?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah. So did ribbons make it all the way around? Or... I know. Because you're going to people to move down and like space out for it. You're like,
Really.
Yeah, that's exactly. I love that story. They do stuff, but like, they had their kids out like selling stuff.
So after I get this interview with Kendra, I'm gonna walk around the Capitol a bit, show y'all what else is going on, and some of the other movements that people are putting their causes behind at this time. As y'all know, I'm here because I think this Assange movement is the utmost priority. So, compared to the other things that are going on at this time, but especially if it's not directly related to like the U.S. empire and foreign policy, that's what I'm currently on at this time.
There will be. Thank you so much. No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's fun waving signs down there with you guys for sure.
And sometimes we'll do something special for to try to bring attention. Keep this. At the same time, it's like.
Well, especially today with all the people.
I had so many people take photos, and if I had
So next time.
17, 16.
We can help her whatever, yeah. You may bring my phone. Do you want us to help you take on the task, or like, are you sure? I think that's, you know, actually, yeah. Yes. I know. That's like, should we move it out? Yeah. Move it that way. She's on her. And he's like, wait a minute, I'm still very dangerous.
Okay, now I think I'll just do that whole walk around the Capitol thing, especially since see what else is going on here. Then I'll come back up here, try to check out some other stuff, other causes that people are rallying for this weekend. So we're right here in state capital, downtown Denver. Yeah, these are some pretty steep steps right here. As we can see, the Iranian rallies, people are right here. That's just going to say that's a bit of a face palm right here. See, as I pull this a bit further away, that's a head scratcher for me. Should be. You know, I don't pretend to know a lot about what's going on in Iran at the moment. Uh, Definitely not on the pro-Ukraine side, as y'all know. And I can kind of tell where this little thing is going towards. As you can see, another sign right here. And it's clear to me that you're being more propagandized into believing that people like that are more of a threat than the U.S. empire that we have right here. And as you can see behind me, there's going to be a little pro-life demonstration down here. So, yeah, clearly a superior choice is being involved in the movement for free and Julian Assange. I think there's a see right behind me, there's a few women next to the pro-life doing the Roe versus Wade application. But as y'all know, it's another thing where your efforts are getting sucked up into a Democratic Party that will not do shit. When it's all said and done, doesn't matter whether they just have 53 people in Congress, they could have 75, 80, 90. They're going to figure out a way to not codify it into law. When it's all said and done, I just thought it was important to give the people a glimpse into other things that are going on around here today. In addition, as I referenced a couple of previous other times, as I waited, do other things, very, very head scratching that people are equating in the pro-Ukraine with the pro-Iranian, as that's a very polarizing issue right now. I haven't covered it yet because that's the one that I clearly understand the least among the pressing issues that we have in our foreign policy at this time. But yeah, next time back at home for a regular episode, I'm definitely going to rant a lot on the the frustration of how people are viewing this whole Russia and Ukraine proxy war that we're at hand right now. People giving way too much credit to Joe Biden for that whole BS action for the whole uh, marijuana thing that it's really just being done to try to get some votes off of you during the midterms that are coming up next month. And it's smoke and mirrors, as usual. Going to switch back over to front facing. And there we go.
Yeah, they're trying to tell everybody. Yeah, Doctor Strange stuff. Yeah, like, yeah. I don't know what that is. Yeah, it's just yeah, for a while, yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. It takes a little bit. Yeah, where's that? Where's that? Yeah, the water killing. Okay. The dogs.
So So back on me for a moment. Gonna see if there's anything else on the other side of the street before we try to come back up again. Very interesting Saturday here in Mile High City. So yeah, what else is important? Oh yeah, gotta get back onto the whole issue with the contradictory stances on foreign policy. Like, well, I'm definitely not on the pro-Iranian side. That is connected to pro-Ukraine. Because for those of you in the know, Ukraine's been the aggressor previous 8 years before Russia reacted. And the fact that the people that think that it's the other way around, that's definitely not the case. And it's just an example of the absurd foreign propaganda that we've been under for years and years. And I've seen a small faction of like pro-Palestinian people who think that being on the side of Ukraine is the right stance, and that's very inconsistent. Back at that corner around Broadway and 14th, that's very inconsistent. Just like the derangement of being more focused on so the corporate propaganda leaders that they call evil, when what we do know is that U.S. empire is by far the most evil of the evil empires that exist here right at this present time. So that's what's really going on here. And while there's people who focus more on like domestic issues, the reason why, by far and obviously, being involved in the free Assange is more significant because of the fact that, as I said, it all trickles down to all the other things. And if you can't move the ball in the right direction when it comes to foreign policy, then how the fuck are you going to be able to do it when it comes to domestic policy here in the United States? We know how horrible that the United States is compared to all the other damn NATO countries, where even though they do give you free healthcare in some way, shape, or form, they're also the most imperialist of all the countries. And I think I'm now in a better spot to talk with the lead organizer, Kendra. So I'm about to switch back over and talk to a couple of these Assange organizers before closing things out for the day. Hi. So closing things out with a couple of the organizers of the Denver Free Assange, Kendra. So how long ago did you get involved in starting this here?
So I started so after I started and after
you know, I asked around. I thought there would already be a group out here that I planned on joining, and there was not. So, so started one, and our first rally we had it on the meetup, and had a handful of people show up, and we just kind of going.
Yeah, so I've seen like some other actions as well. Like I've heard of the ones where you've gone around to like the local news stations. So how do those actions compare to like events like today?
Well, it just depends. You know, we really try multiple things to try to get the word out. So anything that we can do to do, I think that specific action was inspired actually by one media death in Washington D.C. It was pretty successful, where we went out and had our billboards out there to the media, asking them, you know, why aren't they supporting Assange? So our group, pretty much, if you have an idea for an action, we will help you make it happen.
Yeah, because while I was waiting for you to get freed up, I went around the street here to check out some of these other causes that people are getting in, and it looks pretty corporate propaganda motivated.
Yeah, and we obviously it's been a struggle. The media is either silent on Assange or they're smearing Assange. So obviously it's difficult for an actual grassroots group. You know, we don't have any corporate sponsors. We don't have, you know, we don't have anything like that. So it's really, but we are so grateful for those of the media that do care about this issue, and the independent media like you. You know, that's awesome. I don't know what we would have done today if you didn't show up. So.
Yes, I would like to get out to more of these events, as I previously had done this for the March for Medicare for All last year. So what do you think are some of the next steps forward following today?
So, so still focused. This focus is to have my strong charges to try and drop for us to be education. So really, that's a big focus. Probably within the next couple of weeks, I would expect to be here whether or not the UK will hear his appeal, and then that will kind of determine the next steps. But all of our steps are the same. We need to raise awareness. Now that the schools are back in session, we try to do some information groups there. We are grateful to have nonpartisan, but we have had some support from the Libertarian. So we thought even of a bigger event to bring people in from all around who've experienced censorship and just have everybody sort of come together and press and that thing as well. So we'll see.
So what are some of these other causes that people from your group work with?
So our group is pretty mixed. Push on the left and push more. For me, this is the only thing I've done to act. To bring people together to have a conversation. And we've actually seen quite a bit of things like that for naturally Assange events, because it's just people from all around who care about the truth.
Yes, thanks so much to Kendra, one of the lead organizers of the Denver Free Assange chapter, for taking the time to close things out on this Hands Off Assange rally today. So gonna close out this broadcast here on my end too shortly. So yes, now that that's done, now I can make closing statements on what I saw here today. I think it's a good, inspiring crowd. We had a healthy amount of diversity for the size of the amount of people that showed up today. So, but I will talk about that more in detail in the coming days. I'm honestly not sure if that's going to happen on tomorrow night or possibly Monday night as well. One of those next 2 nights. As for, I am going to work on locking a guest down for Wednesday's show at 9 p.m. Eastern. So, and what else? Also, please go like and share today's rally, as well as subscribe. Make sure you're followed on multiple platforms, as y'all know, because people like me can get kicked off of one of the big prominent platforms that are supposed to be helpful in helping us grow. So, with that being said, this is Andrew Rochford saying goodbye and good night. Take this shit off the internet and bump it outside. We keeping it live.